Revealed, rich woman splashes mud on cleaning lady, but amazing truth transforms everything. Emily wiped the sweat from her brow, blending into the backdrop of manicured lawns and opulent homes. She felt the sun's warmth against her skin, a comforting reminder that life moves forward despite the struggle. Today, she was at Victoria's estate, a glaring contradiction in her world filled with strollers and discarded toys. She pushed the sound of laughter from behind the lavish gates out of her mind, focusing instead on her work. Each brush of the broom against the cobblestones carried her dreams for her children, Sarah, a bright-eyed teenager, and little Jake, full of wonder. As she methodically cleaned the garden, her thoughts were interrupted by the roar of an engine. Emily looked up just in time to see Victoria barreling through a puddle, her shiny car kicking up murky water that splattered across Emily's work clothes. "Get used to it, darling," Victoria scoffed, a smirk etched across her face. Gasps rippled through the nearby crowd of guests, their heads turning in disbelief. Emily felt her cheeks flush with embarrassment and indignation, the joy of the day tarnished in an instant. But beyond the shock, the clash of privilege and hard work ignited something in her, a fierce determination. She stood there, drenched but unbowed, the weight of the moment forging a resolve in her heart. Later that week, as whispers of the incident spread through the community, she found solace at the local park, alongside other single parents and veterans who shared stories of their struggles, dreams, hopes, and the grit it took to survive. Each tale stitched them together in a tapestry of resilience and love. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The charity event drew nearer, and Emily felt a swell of determination as she prepared to speak. She stepped onto the stage, heart racing, words bubbling up from the depth of her soul. She recounted nights spent cleaning to make ends meet, the sacrifices that molded her family, and the unwavering support of her tight-knit community. She sensed empathy in the air and understanding beginning to unfold as she revealed her truth. Her story resonated, not just as a cleaning lady but as a mirror of shared struggles. Just as the crowd began to shift towards compassion and connection, a voice interrupted. Someone mentioned Victoria's late mother, a woman who had once been a cleaning lady herself, someone who had fought hard to change their narrative. The atmosphere buzzed with revelation. Victoria's eyes flickered, her facade cracking under the weight of the truth. Emily, feeling the stakes rise, lingered on that moment, their experiences colliding in a way no one expected. Victoria looked at Emily, caught between pride and an unspoken fear. "Why didn't you just tell me?" she asked, her voice trembling slightly. Emily could see the struggle beneath Victoria's bravado, the vulnerability bottled up inside. She felt the collective breath of the community, their hopes intertwining, as they awaited her answer. What lay ahead was uncertain, but for the first time in a long while, Emily could sense change in the air, a shared journey cloaked in compassion waiting to unfold. Emily paused, her heart pounding in her chest. She took a deep breath, gathering her strength, feeling the weight of the audience's gaze. A blend of weariness and hope flickered in her eyes as she replied, "I didn't tell you because I thought you wouldn't care. I thought I was just the invisible woman, the one who cleans and sorts your world without being seen." There was an audible gasp from the crowd. Emily looked at Victoria, who stood there, her expression softening, the walls of arrogance slowly crumbling. It was palpable, this moment of recognition, and understanding threaded between them that seemed to connect everyone in the room. "You're more than that," Victoria finally spoke, her voice barely above a whisper, yet filled with a newfound sincerity. "My mother never wanted to be forgotten. She always said, we are all just layers beneath the surface. I lost sight of that." The realization rippled through the crowd, sparking whispering conversations, as people leaned closer, intrigued by this unexpected revelation. Emily felt a sense of camaraderie building, a strength bubbling beneath the surface. It was as if the layers of fear and separation were beginning to dissolve like the melting snow in March. I know how hard it is to scrape by, how it feels to be looked down upon, Emily continued, her voice steadier now. But every one of us, no matter our title, has a story worth telling. Each person in this room has a struggle, a dream, a fire that can't be put out. My children are why I keep going. Every job, every late night, it's for them. A murmuring of agreement arose. Heads nodded in empathy. Emily could see her friends in the audience, parents who fought each day to keep a roof over their heads, others who carried wounds of service and loss. They were united, and she could feel that energy lifting the room. Victoria stepped closer, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. I'm sorry, Emily. I want to do better. I want to support people like you. It's time to push through the barriers. The silence was shattered by applause. Emily's heart soared yet grounded her with humility. It's not just about us anymore, she said, looking out at the crowd. Let us work together to change this narrative. A spontaneous cheer erupted. It was electric, a pulse of collective energy, one that sparked ideas of community initiatives, fundraisers, and outreach programs. Emily felt the tears welling in her eyes, not for her own struggles, but for the newfound possibility. As the essence of hope filled the air, she realized this moment was just the beginning. But before she could speak again, a man from the back shouted, "What if this is more than just a moment? What if we can turn this into a movement?" The room went still, the excitement brewing like a storm. Emily glanced at Victoria, both women caught in the middle of a crossroads. The question hung heavily in the air, the enormity of their responsibilities and choices pressed against them like a weight they couldn't ignore. Could this really be the start of something greater? What would it take to truly bridge the divide? As the crowd buzzed with ideas, the future shimmered with potential. Emily glanced at Victoria, their fates intertwined now more than ever. The journey ahead was still unclear, but one thing was certain: change was waiting at their doorstep. What they didn't yet know was that the path forward would test them in ways they could never anticipate. Would they rise together to face the challenges ahead, or would they crumble under the weight of expectation? The applause faded, but the energy in the room crackled like static electricity. Emily's heart raced. Had they really just ignited a spark of change? The weight of the moment hit her. It felt monumental, as if they were standing at the edge of a cliff, ready to leap into the unknown. Let us make a list, someone shouted from the front row. Emily recognized the voice as Maria, a single mom struggling to make ends meet. That voice had always carried a tone of resilience in the face of adversity, and now it wove through the crowd, stirring an emerging unity. Yeah. We can start with what we need, another voice chimed in. Excitement surged as people began calling out ideas: safe spaces for families, job training programs, mentorship opportunities. Each suggestion felt like a step forward. Emily looked over at Victoria, who appeared transfixed. The clash of their worlds felt muted now, eclipsed by a shared purpose. Can you believe this? Emily murmured, a smile breaking across her face. I don't think I've ever felt so inspired, Victoria replied, returning the smile, her voice shaking. We need to harness this energy. This can't fall apart. Suddenly, a pregnant pause disrupted the flow. An older gentleman, Tom, rose slowly from his seat. A retired teacher, his face was lined with years of wisdom. This is beautiful, he started, his voice steady yet filled with emotion. But it's not enough to just talk. We need a plan. We need to act. Who's willing to put in the work? That was a call to arms, and Emily felt it resonate deep within her. We all are, she shouted, emboldened. This isn't just about me or you, it's about all of us. Electricity coursed through the crowd, a chorus of yes. And count me in. Filled the space. Emily's spirits surged as they collectively leaned into the idea of collaboration. With each word spoken, each idea shared, the invisible walls that separated them began to crumble. There was laughter, cheers, and an urgency that felt almost tangible, as if time itself had folded in on their lives and created this single moment of clarity. But with the rising hope came a sense of vulnerability. Could they truly follow through? What if the excitement faded once they left this room? Ignoring her internal doubts, Emily raised her voice. Let us create a task force. We can meet weekly, share ideas, and support each other on this journey. We can organize events, outreach programs, whatever it takes. The crowd erupted into applause again, but this time it felt different. It was charged with determination, with a palpable commitment to transform their conviction into action. As the energy continued to build, Victoria stood beside Emily and declared, "Let us be the change we seek. We can show others they too have a voice." Powerful words rushed around the room, echoing hopes that had been stifled for too long. Emily's gaze swept through the audience. Each face reflected a mixture of longing, excitement, and fear. They were peeling away their layers, stripped down to their core desires for better lives. "Let us meet tomorrow," someone shouted. "Same place." "Agreed," Emily said, her heart pounding with inspiration. "Tomorrow we take the first steps together." As the crowd began to disperse, chatter filled the air, plans etched in every corner of the room. Emily felt lighter yet more anchored, a strange mix of exhilaration and anxiety swirling within her. Yet lurking in the back of her mind was the warning of what awaited them. There would be resistance. Not everyone would embrace their intentions. Could they truly hold this movement together through the struggles to come? Just as her doubts began to conquer her thoughts, Victoria leaned closer. "Whatever happens, we have to trust each other. We won't succeed if we don't lean in. Can you promise me that?" Emily hesitated, feeling the weight of responsibility on her shoulders. "I promise, but can we really do this?" And in that moment, with the sun setting outside, illuminating the room in vibrancy, she knew they were standing at a crossroad. But as the day closed, a question loomed: would they have the strength to weather the storms ahead, and would their newfound bonds truly survive the trials waiting just around the corner? The next day arrived with the promise of something new hanging in the air. Emily woke up early, her heart racing again, this time not from the energy in the room but from the weight of what lay ahead. She could hardly focus on breakfast, her mind racing with thoughts of the meeting. Would people actually show up? Would they bring their ideas and hopes, or would yesterday's fire become just another forgotten ember? As she made her way to the community center, the streets buzzed with the usual morning routine. Cars honked, dogs barked, and neighbors exchanged pleasantries, but Emily felt disconnected, as though she were moving through a dream. The promise of change held her captive, and yet fear clung to her like a shadow. When she arrived, the room was already buzzing. Faces from last night mingled with new ones, an unexpected sea of support and curiosity. Maria waved her over from a table piled high with papers and snacks. "We've been chatting about what we could do," she said, her eyes bright with enthusiasm. "I brought some markers and boards. We're ready to brainstorm." Emily felt a wave of relief wash over her. Perhaps this was at the turning point where hope started to transform into action. As people settled in, she took a deep breath, ready to share the vision that had taken root in her heart. "Thank you all for coming," she began, her voice stronger than she felt. "Last night was just the beginning. We have the chance to create something real here. I want us to think about our community. What do we need? What can we build together?" Ideas began to flow. Job fairs, after-school programs, community gardens. Dreams once buried were now coming to life, fueled by the collective spirit of the group. Emily felt the energy shift, raw and powerful. But amid the excitement, a voice pierced through. What about the pushback? It was Janet, a middle-aged woman known for her candor. "Not everyone will want these changes. There are folks who like things the way they are." Emily felt her heart drop momentarily. Janet was right. The world outside their bubble wasn't always welcoming. "We will face resistance," she admitted softly, creating space for the tension. "But if we stand together, we can overcome anything. We're stronger as a united front." The room quieted, a moment of contemplation washing over them. Trust needed to be woven into every action, every meeting, every decision. That collective promise hung heavy in the air. Victoria chimed in, "We have to be prepared. Let us think about outreach, getting others on board. We need to hear their fears, their hesitations. We can't ignore them. Emily nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility once more. It was a delicate balance, ensuring their vision wouldn't alienate others, those neighbors who felt threatened or resistant to change. Just then, the door creaked open, and a newcomer entered. A tall woman, dressed impeccably in business attire, paused at the threshold. Her confident stride indicated she meant to make her presence known. Emily thought she recognized her Rebecca, a member of the local business council. Wasn't she known for opposing community projects? "Excuse me," Rebecca said, commanding attention. "I hope I'm not interrupting, but I heard about this meeting. I'd like to discuss some concerns." The room fell silent. Tension curled in the air, replaced by uncertainty. Emily's heart raced. It was now or never. Would this be a moment of confrontation or an opportunity for growth? Taking a deep breath, Emily stepped forward. "We want to hear from you," she said, striving for openness. "Your input is essential." The crowd held its breath, and Emily could feel the weight of the moment pressing down on her. Would Rebecca's concerns ignite fear or clarity? The future of their vision hung on a fragile thread. And as the next words were about to unfurl, uncertainty loomed. Could they truly embrace not only the support but also the resistance that transformation inevitably brings? Rebecca stood at the front, her eyes scanning the room like a hawk surveying its territory. Emily felt all eyes on her, as if the room had flipped inside out, each breath now heavy with potential. What would come next? "Thank you for allowing me to speak," Rebecca began, her voice crisp and authoritative. "I see all these great ideas. But let's be real, who is going to fund them? We need to consider the economic impact, especially when our town is already straining with budgets." The words landed like stones in a still pond, causing ripples of resentment and concern among the attendees. Emily's stomach churned. She was aware of the tight financial situation. She had thought of it often, but would anyone voice their worries so plainly? Janet leaned forward, her brow furrowed. "So you're saying we should just give up? We can't let money be the deciding factor in making our community better." "There are ways." "Wait," Rebecca interrupted, raising a hand. "I'm not saying we should give up. I want to help. But we need a plan. We can't dive in without knowing how to sustain it." Emily noticed a few nods among the crowd, a flicker of agreement. She felt a lump in her throat. Was their dream becoming more complicated than she envisioned? "Let us take a step back," Maria chimed in, her voice soothing. "We can all contribute. Fundraising, grants. We can brainstorm solutions together. Bringing us all into the fold means we might actually unify the community." Emily grabbed hold of the moment. "Exactly. This isn't about one group against another. It's about collaboration. What if we formed committees to tackle funding? Or even held community fundraisers to support these initiatives?" Rebecca tilted her head, a spark of curiosity flickering in her eyes. "Now, that I could get behind. But it requires dedication from everyone." "Then we will need to be dedicated," Emily replied, surprised by her own conviction. "If we push each other, we can create something sustainable. If we're going to do this, let us do it right." The murmurs resumed, the room now a bubbling cauldron of ideas and hope. Emily could feel the tension lifting slightly, replaced by buoyant energy, but she also sensed the silence of doubt lingering in the corners. "Before we move forward, let us think about how we can hear from everyone," Victoria suggested. "What if we hold a series of smaller meetings, gathering feedback from people across the community? This way, we can ensure everyone's voice is heard, even those who might not be in this room today." This time, Emily's heart swelled with possibility. Her cheeks flushed with excitement, and determination coursed through her veins. They could find a way to stitch together their scattered dreams, but uncertainty still lurked. How would they encourage those resistant to change? "That sounds promising," Rebecca interjected, her tone more approachable. "Though there are folks who will be hard to convince, I think it's vital to address their concerns head-on. If we offer them a seat at the table, they may just surprise us." A wave of murmurs resumed, and just like that, a plan was beginning to take shape. But before the discussion could gather full steam, the emergency alarm blared through the community center, cutting through the atmosphere like a knife. Emily's heart sank as the room fell silent again. "Everyone stay calm," Maria shouted above the din. "Let us regroup outside." As people began to shuffle toward the door, Emily caught Rebecca's eye. "We'll find the answers," she promised, sincerity weaving through her words. Together. Stepping outside into the bright sunshine, Emily felt the air thicken with anticipation. They were on the cusp of something monumental, but so many unknowns still whispered in the shadows. How would they respond to those who feared change? And as the group huddled together beneath the open sky, Emily's thoughts turned to the storm brewing ahead. Would their unity withstand the coming waves of doubt, or would it falter? The sunlight splashed over the crowd as they gathered outside, their faces flashing a mix of anticipation and unease. Emily could feel the heaviness in the air shifting. It was a perfect day for a fresh start, or so she hoped. "Is everyone okay?" Janet asked, brushing her hair back and glancing around. There were nods, but some faces remained tense, eyes darting anxiously as if they were still trapped inside. The alarm had rattled everyone's nerves. "Let us take a deep breath," Maria said, standing tall, exuding calm. "We're here together. It's just a safety drill, nothing serious. Let us focus on what matters, our plans moving forward." Emily watched as Rebecca stepped slightly forward, her former steeliness softened by the layers of responsibility surrounding her. "While we're out here," she began slowly, "let us organize ourselves. We can use this unexpected moment to gather our thoughts. What's the first step? How do we keep the momentum going?" The murmurs returned, this time laced with optimism. Emily seized the chance. "We have to be resolute. This is our moment to unite. We can compile our ideas right here, right now. Imagine drawing out a map of what we envision for our community." "I love that idea," Victoria said, brimming with enthusiasm. "Let us pin down what we need to work on first. Share our goals openly." With pens and paper pulled from bags, they began to sketch their vision, ideas flying. Emily looked around, drawing energy from the animated conversations bubbling up around her. It was happening, they were opening up. But then there was a shrill voice from the fringe of the crowd. "What's the point?" It was Linda, her arms crossed tightly. "Nothing ever changes. Why should we bother?" A hush fell over the gathering. The excitement dimmed, replaced by the weight of her words. Emily's heart raced. How could she turn this around? "Linda," Emily stepped forward, her voice strong but gentle. "I understand that fear. Change feels daunting, especially when past scars linger. But maybe that's exactly why we need to come together. Maybe we can push through the doubt together." "Easy for you to say," Linda shot back, shaking her head. "You're not the one struggling every day." This stung. Emily could feel the collective tension rise. They had somehow become emboldened by vulnerability, but now she yearned for a break, for clarity. "Can I say something?" said Adam, a quiet voice from the back. Emily hadn't expected him to speak up. "I used to feel the same as you, Linda. Skeptical, lost in the struggle. But then I listened to people. I heard how we can work together and help each other. With Emily's drive and Rebecca's insights, there's a chance, and I'm tired of feeling hopeless." Linda's expression shifted, the walls she built starting to crumble. "But what if it fails?" "Then we learn," Emily replied, looking into her eyes. "We pick ourselves up and try again. The real failure is not trying at all." As murmurs spread through the crowd, the collective mood began to shift once more. They started to share stories, tales of setbacks and triumphs that resonated deeply. Time slipped by, each minute tightening the bond among them. Emily felt her earlier fears dissipate. Could this moment truly ignite change? But just as hope began to bloom, the distinct sound of sirens, a stark reminder of their earlier disruption, interrupted the calm. Eyes widened, and apprehensive murmurs surged around the group again. "Is there another emergency?" Janet asked, her brow knit in concern. "Maybe it has nothing to do with us," Maria said, her voice steadier than Emily felt inside. And then, as they turned their attention back to the community center, a figure emerged from behind the doors, an unexpected face breaking through the haze of uncertainty. Mayor Thompson, his brow furrowed, urgency marking his steps. Emily's heart raced. What could be so pressing? She braced herself for his announcement, feeling that familiar knot tighten in her stomach. Would their moment of unity fall to pieces again? Everyone, we need to talk right now. There are some developments that will affect all of you, he began, his tone grave. As Emily's mind raced with possibilities, dread crept in. What news could threaten the fragile moments they decrafted? Was this the moment all their dreams would unravel, or would it lead them to an unexpected truth? Thank you for your patience, Mayor Thompson said, scanning the crowd with narrowed eyes. I wish I could say that the news is simple, but... He hesitated, and the crowd held its breath collectively. Emily felt the weight of every uncertain heart around her. There's been a shift in funding that may impact our community initiatives. I know many of you have formed plans today, but due to budget cuts, we're being forced to make some hard decisions. The center may not be able to continue supporting programs that serve you. Gasps rippled through the gathering. Emily's stomach dropped. The very thing that had felt like hope moments ago was now at the precipice of collapse. Not again, Linda whispered, anguish etched across her face. Emily wanted to reach out, to comfort her. Rebecca took a step towards the mayor, her voice steady, yet emotional. With respect, Mayor, we were just starting to forge a path forward. This community has faced so much we can't allow another setback to crush us. We need support, not defeat. I understand, the mayor replied, holding up a hand. And I want to help. But the reality is complicated. We have to consolidate funds, and that means we can't sustain every program. The only way to ensure that a few survive is by making sacrifices. Emily's heart pounded in her chest. Sacrifices? What sacrifices would they have to make? A wave of fear washed over her, threatening to drown out the spark of unity they had just ignited. What if? Adam ventured, his voice quieter but filled with determination. What if we join together? If we form a coalition, we can advocate for our needs. We can show how vital these programs are. A murmur of agreement swept through the crowd. Suddenly, a flicker of light pierced through the oppression of their shared disbelief. Slowly, a chorus of yes began rising like a tide, lifting them from despair. Yes, shouted Victoria. Let us organize, let us show them our strength. They can't ignore us if we stand together. Exactly, Emily called out, emboldened by a rush of adrenaline. This is our chance to prove our value as a community. Let us gather our stories, our ideas, and demand they listen. Linda's eyes softened. The anger that had shielded her began to falter. What if we fail, again? She asked, vulnerability creeping into her voice. Emily stepped closer. But what if we don't? What if we discover something bigger than ourselves? We're more than just individuals facing our battles, we're a family. And family stands up for each other. Another wave of agreement surged. Hands went up. People began to support one another with affirmations. Hope sparked among fear, tension draining as they began to brainstorm ideas, rallying behind their cause. As Emily looked around, the initial worry in everyone's eyes was fading. They were finding strength in each other, an undeniable force starting to blossom. Yet, just as the crowd began to rally, a chilling gust swept through the open space. The shades of doubt weren't far behind. Emily could feel the tension lingering in the air, the past still haunting them. As the mayor stood silently, watching the burgeoning spirit of the crowd, the unsettling thought nagged at Emily: how would the local government respond to their new demands? Were they willing to truly listen? And then, above the swelling voices, a thunderous clap of thunder rumbled through the sky, echoing the uncertainty they all felt deep inside. Emily looked up, her heart pounding. Was this danger looming, or another call to action? Would they rise to the challenge together, or would another storm break their resolve? The question hung in the air, unanswered, a promise of what was yet to come. A tense silence followed the thunder, each heartbeat drumming in Emily's ears as dark clouds loomed overhead. The crowd seemed to hold its breath, caught between despair and the flickering hope that had just ignited among them. It was as if the storm was not just overhead, but inside them too, threatening to extinguish the light they had just ignited with uncertainty. "Let us not be afraid," Adam shouted, pushing through the whispers and glancing back at the mayor. "We've faced storms before. Remember the flood last summer? We rebuilt our playground, didn't we? We didn't let anything stop us then." One by one, people nodded. Memories of past struggles and their resolutions flooded the atmosphere, wrapping them like a familiar quilt. Emily felt her resolve strengthen. Everyone around her was right. Maybe this moment was not about what they might lose but what they could create together. "Right," Victoria added, her voice rising above the crowd again. "This is our chance to rally, to show them what we stand for. We also have parents here, teachers, students, everyone has a stake in this." "Exactly," Emily called out, feeding off their energy. "What we need now is not just our voices, but our stories. Let us share what these programs mean to us. We're not clients, we're neighbors. We're friends, families, all united in this fight." Just then, Emily spotted a small hand rising amidst the adults. It was Jake, a shy boy from her son's school. She hadn't seen him at the front before, but now he looked determined. "My little brother needs the after-school art program," he said, his voice wavering but clear. "He loves painting. It helps him." A wave of yes erupted from the crowd, spurring others to speak up. One after another, people began to share their stories, others of lost opportunities, of newfound friendships forged in the center's warmth, of children who thrive with every lesson learned and every program offered. As voices rose in support of one another, Emily felt an undeniable shift. They were no longer just individuals frightened by budget cuts. They were a tapestry of shared experiences, woven together in resilience. But in the midst of this newfound unity, Emily couldn't shake the nagging feeling of doubt that brushed against her thoughts like the chilling wind. Would the mayor truly stand with them? She glanced at him, hoping to see signs of encouragement. Instead, he seemed pensive, conflicted, as if weighing the one choice against the other. Just as that thought settled uneasily in her mind, something extraordinary happened. The wind picked up again, but this time, it carried the hopeful scent of rain. Cool droplets began to sprinkle the crowd, softening the air and their hearts. Emily laughed, realizing how fitting it felt. The rain was not just a threat but a cleansing, washing away the fear that had plagued them, making space for new beginnings. "We can do this!" she shouted over the drumming rain. "Let us meet tomorrow. We can create a plan, a real, actionable plan to show exactly what these programs mean to this town." The crowd erupted as the rain danced upon them like a celebration. But among the cheers and the excitement, an uncertainty lingered still. A question that remained unanswered: was the mayor's silence a sign of reluctance or something else? As the rain fell harder, mixed with the joy and trepidation of what lay ahead, Emily could only think, tomorrow, they would find out. What kind of storm would they weather together? Would their voices be enough to pierce through the clouds of bureaucracy and fear? As the thunder rolled in the distance, she took a deep breath, determined to find out. The next morning arrived with an uncomfortable stillness, the sky a pale gray washed clean by the rain. Emily's heart raced as she stepped outside her door, a mixture of hope and anxiety churning within her. Today was the day they would take a stand, and she couldn't shake the feeling that it would be a turning point for everyone in their community. As she made her way to the meeting spot at the community center, she noticed small clusters of neighbors talking in hushed tones, eyes filled with determination. It was a subtle but powerful shift. They were stepping out of their homes, ready to face the challenge ahead. Inside the center, the air buzzed with excitement, punctuated by nervous laughter and the shuffling of feet. Chairs and tables were set up in a circle, a stark contrast to the feeling of isolation many had felt just the day before. Emily took her place among the crowd, and as she looked around, she saw familiar faces, each one representing a piece of the fabric they had woven together. Jason, the local high school principal, stood at the front, ready to guide the discussions. He cleared his throat, and the room quieted. Thank you all for being here today. We've all heard some of the stories shared last night. Now it's time to translate that energy into action. His voice lifted the spirits in the room. Let us talk about what we need, what these programs mean to our children and this community. Hands flew up as people clamored to speak, a rush of voices echoing over one another. Emily felt her pulse quicken, a blend of excitement and apprehension. She listened carefully, each story throbbing in her chest. Parents spoke of children thriving in art classes, veterans of the program reminisced about their own experiences, and teachers passionately articulated the impact of every lesson learned. Then, in the back, Jake raised his hand again. I think we should have everyone write down their stories, he suggested. Then we can share them with the mayor. He needs to know what's happening in our town. A ripple of agreement spread through the room, and Emily smiled at the boys' initiative. It struck her then how the youngest voices often carried the most genuine truths. But what if he doesn't listen? Someone murmured from the back. Emily's stomach twisted at the doubt that hung in the air. Jason addressed it. This is about more than just convincing him. This is about showing him who we are, what we're made of. Maybe he hasn't fully grasped the importance of what we're fighting for. And there it was, the collective realization that they held the power. They were a united force, not just voices in the wind but a momentum that could shift entire landscapes. Their stories might light a fire in the mayor's heart, which was something Emily hadn't dared to imagine just yesterday. As the meeting unfolded, ideas flew like sparks from a fire. Plans took shape: rallies, petitions, neighborhood meetups to gather more stories and create a groundswell of support. Hope swelled in Emily's chest as she scribbled down notes. But amidst all the planning, doubt crept in again. What if their efforts weren't enough? What if the mayor was too far gone, too entrenched in the political choices he faced? Just as those thoughts began to spiral, the doors swung open, and there stood the mayor himself, drenched from the rain that had finally given way to a sunny afternoon. His expression was unreadable, but he held a clipboard in one hand and a notebook in the other, ready to hear their voices. Emily's heart raced. This was the moment of truth. Would he listen? Would he feel the fervor of their stories? Or would he walk away, lost in his own fears and decisions? With the anticipation rising in the room, her breath caught in her throat as they all waited to see what would happen next. Would today change everything? In that charged moment, as the crowd collectively held its breath, the question hung in the air: what would the mayor's response reveal about the destiny of their community? Emily stood quietly at the front, nervously twisting her fingers, her heart racing. The tension in the room was electric. The hope and fear clashed like waves crashing against the silent shore. Mayor Thompson, standing before them, seemed to embody that very uncertainty, his face a mask of contemplation. He glanced down at the clipboard he held, but something flickered in his eyes, a hint of understanding breaking through the hardened facade. Before anyone could speak, Emily found her voice. Thank you for being here, Mayor, she began, adrenaline surging. We just need a chance to show you how important these programs are for our community. It's not just about funding, it's about families and lives being impacted every day. The mayor nodded slowly. I understand, he said, his tone more somber now, and I've heard some of what you've been saying. I honestly didn't realize the depth of your connections, your needs. A collective gasp echoed through the room. Hope flickered amongst them like a candle in the dark. Today is about raising awareness, Jason stepped forward, echoing Emily's sentiment. We need you to see how these programs bring our community together. They aren't just services, they're lifelines. The mayor shifted uncomfortably, his pen poised above the blank page. I want to help you, he admitted finally, the weight of his words resonating throughout the crowd. But the reality is, budget cuts are severe. It's a challenge I face from all sides. Emily felt her heart dip again, the embodiment of her worries threatening to drown the uplifting moment. But Mayor, what if we work with you on this? We're invested. Our stories matter. She gestured towards Jake, who sat diligently at the front with everyone's stories written on colorful sheets of paper before him. Let these stories shine light on the truth. Let us partner with you to dive into alternative funding options, the grants, the businesses that can support outreach. We will help. Exactly. Linda chimed in, the fire in her tones surprising herself. We have the voices, and we have the will. It's about standing together. We can show it's not just about money, but change. Real, tangible change. Mayor Thompson's eyes brightened slightly, the tension in his shoulders lessening as he began to dip into the wealth of their enthusiasm. If we could rally together, create a proposal based on these stories, it might shift the balance. But it requires action. People have to see that you won. Just back down. We won. A chorus of voices rang back, determination fanning the flames of hope in the room once more. Then let us do it, Thompson continued, his voice steadying. Let us gather those stories. I'll dedicate city resources to help formalize your narratives. If this is what you believe in passionately, it deserves a voice. We can make this a community project, a collaboration. As those words hung in the air, a wave of relief swept through Emily. She could feel the warmth of unity, the strength of everyone around her, ready to rise to this occasion. It felt right. Let us not waste this opportunity, she said, her voice gaining strength. We will come together, and if it means holding meetings, organizing rallies, we're game. We'll show you the strength and need of our community. With the mayor nodding in recognition, finally accepting their fellowship in the fight ahead, the crowd erupted into applause. Cheers and laughter rang out, the feeling of victory palpable. They had planted the seeds of change, and now they were ready to water them with hard work and dedication. As they began planning those steps together, something clicked deep within Emily. She felt lighter, her worries ebbing away, replaced with fierce resolve. Surrounded by her neighbors, she realized that their dreams for the community were about so much more than keeping programs afloat. They embodied hope, unity, and transparency. Together, they could redefine the narrative. As the meeting wound down, Emily caught Jake's eye. The boy who had found his courage in this whirlwind, who had spurred a community to action. She smiled at him, feeling gratitude fill her heart. Thank you, Jake, she whispered as she ruffled his hair. You reminded all of us to believe in our voice. Don't thank me. He grinned, his innocence radiating across the room. Let us go and show the world. The words echoed in her heart. It was true, they were ready to step out into the world together, telling their stories, forging connections, transforming their lives for the better. They were ready to prove that change was not just possible, it was inevitable. And as the clouds cleared for the sun to shine through, Emily felt a rush of hope. She was no longer just a cleaning lady. She was a leader. She was part of something beautiful and bright. Together, they'd weather any storm and emerge victorious. This is where their journey truly began. Now that you've gone on this inspiring journey with us, it's time for you to take action. Subscribe immediately to ensure you never miss another exclusive story that can ignite the fire in you. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and let us know you want to see more stories filled with hope and transformation. Comment below sharing your feelings about Emily's journey and what it means to you. We love hearing your thoughts. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness this incredible transformation. Together, we can inspire a movement of change,